ये आवाज करता है।
Yes, yes.
Only
We're looking, I can remember the chapter and Raghunath Das Goswami, CC, that one. Yeah, we're just, Yes, we found it.
What is that chapter?
Yeah. Yes, we found it.
The chapter called?
This is Chaitanya Charitamrita Antya-Leela, chapter 6, text 47.
Lord Chaitanya meets Raghunath Das Goswami.
एक नौ श्लोक
Text 1, translation.
कंप्यूटर भी है
Text 1, translation. With the ropes of his causeless mercy, Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu employed a trick to deliver Raghunath Das Goswami from the blind well of contemplative family life. He made Raghunath Das Goswami one of his personal associates, placing him under the charge of Sarup Damodar Goswami. I offer my obeisances unto him. Text 2, translation. All glories to Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, all glories to Lord Nityananda, all glories to Sri Advaita Acharya, and all glories to the devotees of Lord Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Text 3, translation. Thus Lord Gaurchandra performed various pastimes with his associates at Jagannath Puri in varieties of transcendental pleasure. Text 4. Although Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu felt pangs of separation from Krishna, he did not manifest his feelings externally, for he feared the unhappiness of his devotees. Text 5. There is no. Text 5. The transformations undergone by the Lord when he manifested severe unhappiness due to separation from Krishna cannot be described. Text 6. When Lord actually felt pangs of separation from Krishna, only Sri Ramananda Rai's talk about Krishna and sweet songs of Sarup Damodar kept him alive. Text 7. Because the Lord associated with various devotees during the day, his mind was somewhat diverted, but at night the pangs of separation from Krishna increased very rapidly. Text 8, translation. Two people, Sarup Damodar Goswami and Ramananda Rai, stayed with the Lord to pacify him by reciting various verses about Krishna's pastime and by singing appropriate song for his satisfaction. Text 9. Previously, when Lord Krishna was personally present, Shubala, one of his cowherd boyfriend, gave him happiness when he felt separation from Radharani. Similarly, Ramananda Rai helped give happiness to Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Text 10. Previously, when Srimati Radharani felt the pangs of separation from Krishna, her constant companion Lalita kept her alive by helping her in many ways. Similarly, when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu felt Radharani's emotion, Sarup Damodar Goswami helped him maintain his life. Text 11. To describe the fortunate position of Ramananda Rai and Sarup Damodar Goswami is extremely difficult. They were renowned as intimately confidential friends of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Text 12. The Lord thus enjoyed his life with his devotees. O devotees of Lord Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, now hear how Raghunath Das Goswami met the Lord. Text 13. When Raghunath Das, during his family life, went to meet Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu at Shantipur, the Lord gave him worthy instruction by his causeless mercy. Text 14. Instead of becoming a so-called renunciate, Raghunath Das, following the instructions of the Lord, returned home and played exactly like a pounds and shilling man. Text 15. Raghunath Das was inwardly completely renounced. even in family life, but he did not express his renunciation externally. Instead, he acted just like an ordinary businessman. Seeing this, his father and mother were satisfied. Text 16. When he received a message that Lord Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had returned from Mathura city, Raghunath Das endeavored to go to the lotus feet of the Lord. Text 17. At that time, there was a Muslim official collecting the taxes of Shaptagrama. Purport. Formerly, when a Muslim government was in power, the person appointed tax collector would collect the taxes of the local zamidar or landholders. He would keep 1/4 of the collection for himself as a profit, and the balance he would deliver to the treasury of the government. Text 18. Translation. When Hiranya Das, Raghunath Das' uncle, made an agreement with the government to collect taxes, the
कागज पेंसिल
when Hiranya Das, Raghunath Das' uncle, when Hiranya Das, Raghunath Das' uncle, made an agreement with the government to collect taxes, the Muslim Chaudhry or tax collector, having lost his position, became extremely envious of him. Text 19. Hiranya Das was collecting 2 lakh coin and therefore should have delivered 1,50,000 to the government. Instead, he was giving only 1,20,000, thus making an extra profit of 3 lakh coins. Seeing this, the Muslim Chaudhry, who was the Turk, became his rival. Text 20. After sending a confidential account to the government treasury, the Chaudhry brought his minister in charge. The Chaudhry came, wanting to arrest Hiranya Das, but Hiranya Das had left home. Therefore, the Chaudhry arrested Raghunath Das. Text 11. Every day, the Muslim would chastise Raghunath Das and tell him, "Bring your father and his uncle."
एंड उसमें तो लिखा नहीं
Every day, the Muslim would chastise Raghunath Das and tell him, "Bring your father and his elder brother, otherwise you will be punished." Text 22. The Chaudhry wanted to beat him, but as soon as he saw Raghunath's face, his mind changed and he could not beat him.
मौत ही है
Text 23. Indeed, the Chaudhry was afraid of Raghunath Das because
वो पंखा बंद करो, कौन है?
Text
आवाज
23.
करता है पर आवाज
Indeed.
नहीं आता है
The Chaudhry was afraid of Raghunath Das because Raghunath Das belonged to a Kayashta community. Although the Chaudhry would chastise him with oral vibration, he was afraid to beat him. Purport. Raghunath Das belonged to a very aristocratic family of Kayashta community. He had substantial influence with the local people and therefore the Chaudhry or minister was afraid to beat him. Superficially, he would chastise Raghunath Das with threatening vibrations, but he did not beat him. The members of Kayashta community in India are generally very intelligent and expert in business management. Formerly, they were mostly government officers. They were mentioned even by Yajnavalkya, as quoted by Sri Thakur Bhakti Vinod in his Amrita Prabhav Bhashya. From this verse, it appears that the governmental official of the caste community would sometimes chastise the citizen, and thus It was the duty of the king to protect the people in general from the aristocracies of the Kaista. In Bengal, the Kaista community is honored almost as much as the Brahmana community, but in the upcountry of India, the Kaistas are considered Shudra because they generally ate meat and drink wine. In any case, from history of Kaista appears very intelligent. Thus, the Muslim Chaudhry was afraid of Raghunath Das because he belonged to a Kaista community. Text 24. While this was going on, Raghunath Das thought of a trick method of escape. Thus, he humbly submitted his plea at the feet of the Muslim Chaudhry. My dear sir, my father and his elder brother are your brothers. All brothers always fight about something. Sometimes brothers fight among themselves and sometimes they have very friendly dealing. There is no certainty when such change will take place. Thus, I am sure that although today you are fighting, tomorrow you three brothers will be sitting together in a peace. Just as I am my father's son, so I am yours also. I am your dependent and you are my maintainer. For the maintainer to punish the person he maintains is not good. You are expert in all the scriptures. Indeed, you are like a living saint. Text 29. When the Muslim heard Raghunath Das' appealing voice, his heart softened. He began to cry and tears glided down his beard. The Muslim Chaudhry told Raghunath Das, "You are my son from this day on. Today, by some means, I shall have you released." Text 31. After informing the minister, the Chaudhry released Raghunath Das and then began to speak to him with great affection. He said, "Your father's elder brother is less intelligent. He enjoyed 800,000 coins, but since I am also a shareholder, he should give me some portion of it."
अभी परसों बदला ये होगा।
Your father's elder brother is less intelligent. He enjoys 800,000 coins, but since I am also a shareholder, he should give some portion of it to me. Now you go arrange a meeting between me and your uncle. Let him do whatever he thinks best. I shall completely depend on his decision. Text 34. Raghunath Das arranged a meeting between his uncle and the Chaudhry. The matter was settled and everything was peaceful. In this way, Raghunath Das passed 1 year exactly like a first-class business manager, but the next year he again decided to leave home. Text 36. He got up alone one night and left, but his father caught him in a distant place and brought him back. This became almost a daily affair. Raghunath would run away from home and his father would again bring him back. Then Raghunath Das' mother spoke to his father as follows. Text 38. Our son has become mad. She said, just keep him by binding him with ropes. His father, being very unhappy, replied to her as follows. Raghunath Das, our son, has opulence like Indra, the heavenly king, and his wife is as beautiful as angel. Yet all this could not tie down his mind. How then could we keep this boy home by binding him with ropes? It is not possible even for one's father to nullify the actions of one's past activities. Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has fully bestowed his mercy on him. Who can keep him such a madman of Chaitanya Chandra? Text 42. Then Raghunath Das considered something in his mind and the next day he went to Nityananda Gosai. Text 43. In the village of Panihati, Raghunath Das obtained an interview with Nityananda Prabhu, who was accompanied by many kirtan performers, servants, and other. Text 44. Sitting on a rock under a tree on the bank of Ganga, Lord Nityananda seemed as effulgent as hundreds of thousands of rising suns.
Go back, go back, please. Go back.
In sloka box.
Raghunath Das, our son, has opulence like Indra, the heavenly king, and his wife is as beautiful as angel. Yet all this could not tie down his mind. How then could we keep this boy home by binding him with ropes? It is not possible even for one's father to modify the reactions of one's past activities. Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has fully bestowed his mercy on him. Who can keep him such a madman of Chaitanya Chandra? Text 42. Then Raghunath Das, considering something in his mind, the next day he went to Nityananda Gosai. Text 43. In the village of Panihati, Raghunath Das obtained an interview with Nityananda Prabhu, who was accompanied by many kirtan performers, servants, and others. Text 44. Sitting on the rock under a tree on the bank of Ganga, Lord Nityananda seemed as effulgent as hundreds of thousands of rising suns. Many devotees sat on the ground surrounding him. Seeing the influence of Nityananda Prabhu, Raghunath Das was astonished. Text 46. Raghunath Das offered his obeisances by falling prostrate at the distant place, and the servant of Nityananda Prabhu pointed out, "There is Raghunath Das offering you obeisances." Text 47. Hearing this, Lord Nityananda Prabhu said, "You are a thief. Now you have come to see me? Come here, come here. Today I shall punish you." Text 48.
Hey, bro. Hey, bro.
I have the laptop. I have the laptop also. Most of the references are all just from the CC. Is there anything else?
Text 48. The Lord called him, but Raghunath Das did not go near the Lord. Then the Lord forcefully caught him and placed his lotus feet upon Raghunath Das' head. Text 49. Lord Nityananda. Yes,
Yes, go ahead. Somewhat? Lectures, okay. Should Prabhupada lectures? Okay. Yes, any lectures, yes. I see any, okay. Yes, good. Yes.
The Lord called him, but Raghunath Das did not go near the Lord. Then the Lord forcibly caught him and placed his lotus feet upon Raghunath Das' head. Text 49. Lord Nityananda. Lord Nityananda.
Hey, bro.
Lord Nityananda was by nature very merciful and funny. Being merciful, he spoke to Raghunath Das as follows. Text 50. You are just like a thief, for instead of coming near, you stay away at a distant place. Now that I have captured you, I shall punish you. Text 51. Make a festival and feed all my associate yogurt and chipped rice. Hearing this, Raghunath Das was greatly pleased. Text 52. Raghunath Das immediately sent his own men to the village to purchase all kind of eatables and bring them back. Text 53. Raghunath Das brought chipped rice, yogurt, milk, sweetmeats, sugar, banana, and other eatables and placed them all around. Text 54. As soon as they heard that a festival was going to be held, all kind of Brahmana and other gentlemen began to arrive. Thus, there was innumerable people. Text 55. Seeing the crowd increasing, Raghunath Das arranged to get more eatables from other villages. He also brought 2 to 400 large round earthen pots. He also obtained 5 or 7 specially large earthen pots, and in these pots a Brahmana began soaking chipped rice for the satisfaction of Lord Nityananda. In one place, chipped rice was soaked in hot milk in each of the large pot. Then half the rice was mixed with yogurt, sugar and banana. The other half was mixed with condensed milk and a special type of banana known as champakala. Then sugar, clarified butter and camphor were added. After Nityananda Prabhu had changed his cloth for a new one and sat on the raised platform, the Brahmana brought before him the 7 huge pots. Text 60. On that platform, all the most important associates of Sri Nityananda Prabhu, as well as other important men, sat down in a circle around the Lord. Text 61. Among them were Ramdas, Sundarananda, Gadadhar Das, Murari, Kamalakara, Sadashiva and Purandara. Dhananjaya, Jagdish, Parmeshwara Das, Mahesh, Gauri Das and Krishna Das were also there. Poda Krishna Das. Next. Similarly, Uddharan Datta Thakur and many other personal associates of the Lord sat on the raised platform with Nityananda Prabhu. No one could count them all. Purport. The devotees mentioned herein are described by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur in his Anubhashya. For further information, one may consult the following references in the Adi Leela Ramdas, for Ramdas, chapter 10, text 116 to 118, and chapter 11, text 13 to 16. Sundarananda 11.23, Gadadhar Das 10.53, 11.13 and 15, and 11.17. Murari, the Murari mentioned herein is different from Murari Gupta. His full name is Murari Chaitanya Das, and he is a personal associate of Nityananda Prabhu. Thus, one should consult chapter 11, text 20. Kamalakara 11.24, Sadashiv 11.38, Purandara 11.28, Dhananjaya 11.31, Jagdisha 11.30, Parmeshwara 11.29, Mahesha 11.32, Gauridas 11.26, Kola Krishnadas 11.47, and Uddharana Datta Thakur 11.41. Text 64. Hearing about the festival, all kinds of learned scholars, brahmanas and priests went there. Lord Nityananda Prabhu honored them and made them sit on the raised platform with him. Text 65.
There's one lecture, kind of a common type lecture, a Giriraj Maharaj, where he's reading the verses from this section and making comments later. Yes.
Everyone was offered 2 earthen pots. In one was put chipped rice with condensed milk, and in the other chipped rice with yogurt. Next. All the other people sat in group around the platform. No one could count how many people there were. Next. Each and every one of them was supplied two earthen pots, one of chipped rice soaked in yogurt and the other of chipped rice soaked in condensed milk. Next, some of the Brahmana, not having gotten a place on the platform, went to the bank of Ganga with their two earthen pots and soaked their chipped rice there. Next, others who could not get a place even on the bank of Ganga got down into the water and began eating there two kinds of chipped rice. Next, thus some sat on the platform, some at the base of the platform, some on the bank of the Ganga, and they were all supplied two pots each by 20 men who distributed the food. Next, at that time, Raghava Pandita arrived there. Seeing the situation, he began to laugh in great surprise. Next, he brought many kind of food soaked in ghee and offered to Lord. This prasad he first placed before Lord Nityananda and then distributed among the devotees. Next, Raghav Pandit said to Lord Nityananda, "For you, sir, I have already offered food to the deity, but you are engaged in the festival here, and so the food is lying there untouched." Next, Lord Nityananda replied, "Let me eat all this food here during the day, and I shall eat at your home at night. I belong to a community of cowherd boys, and therefore I generally have many cowherd associates with me. I am happy when we eat together in the picnic like this by the sandy bank of river." Lord Nityananda made Raghav Pandit sit down and had two pots delivered to him also. There were two kinds of chipped rice soaked in them. Next, when chipped rice had been served to everyone, Lord Nityananda Prabhu in meditation brought Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu arrived, Lord Nityananda Prabhu stood up. They then saw how the others were enjoying the chipped rice with yogurt and condensed milk. Next, from each and every pot, Lord Nityananda Prabhu took one morsel of chipped rice and pushed it into the mouth of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as a joke. Next, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, also smiling, took a morsel of food, pushed it into the mouth of Nityananda and laughed as he made Lord Nityananda eat it. Next, in this way, Lord Nityananda was walking through all the groups of eaters, and all the Vaishnavas standing there were seeing the fun. No one could understand what Nityananda Prabhu was doing as he walked about. Some, however, who were very fortunate could see that Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was also present. Next, then Nityananda Prabhu smiled and sat down. On his right side, he kept four pots of chipped rice that had not been made for. Then Nityananda Prabhu smiled and sat down. On his right side, he kept four pots of chipped rice that had. Then Nityananda Prabhu smiled and sat down. On his right side, he kept four pots of chipped rice that had not been made from boiled paddy. Lord Nityananda Prabhu offered Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu a place and had him sit down. Then together the two brothers began eating chipped rice. Next, seeing Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu eating with him, Lord Nityananda Prabhu became very happy and exhibited varieties of ecstatic love. Next, Lord Nityananda Prabhu ordered, "All of you eat, chanting the holy name of Hari." Immediately, the holy name Hari Hari resounded, filled the entire universe. Next, when all the Vaishnavas were chanting the holy name Hari Hari and eating, they remembered how Krishna and Balaram ate with their companion, the cowherd boys on the bank of Yamuna. Next, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Lord Nityananda Prabhu are extremely merciful and liberal. It was Raghunath Das could fortune that they accepted all these dealings. Next, who can understand the influence and mercy of Lord Nityananda Prabhu? He is so powerful that he included Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to come eat chipped rice on the bank of Ganga. Text 19. All the confidential devotees who were cowherd boys headed by Sri Ramadas were absorbed in ecstatic love. They thought the bank of Ganga to be the bank of Yamuna. Next, when the shopkeeper of many other villages heard about the festival, they arrived there to sell chipped rice, yogurt, sweetmeats and banana. Next, as they came bringing all kind of food, Raghunath Das purchased it all. He gave them the price for their goods and later fed them the very same food. Anyone who came to see how these funny things were going on was also fed chipped rice, yogurt and banana. After Lord Nityananda Prabhu finished eating, he washed his hands and mouth and gave Raghunath Das the food remnant in the 4 pots. Next, there was food remaining in the 3 other big pots of Lord Nityananda, and a Brahmana distributed it to all the devotees, giving a morsel to each. Next, then a Brahmana brought a flower garland, placed the garland on Nityananda Prabhu's neck, and smeared sandalwood pulp all over his body. When a servant brought betel nut and offered them to Lord Nityananda, the Lord smiled and chewed them. With his own hands, Lord Nityananda Prabhu distributed to all the devotees whatever flower garlands, sandalwood pulp and betel nut remained. Next, after receiving the remnant of food left by Lord Nityananda Prabhu, Raghunath Das, who was greatly happy, ate some and distributed the rest among his associates. Text 100. Thus, I have described the pastimes of Lord Nityananda Prabhu in relation to the celebrated festival of chipped rice and yogurt. Nityananda Prabhu rested for the day, and when the day ended, he went to the temple of Raghava Pandita and began congregational chanting of the holy name of the Lord. Next, Lord Nityananda Prabhu first influenced all the devotees to dance, and finally he himself began dancing, thus inundating the entire world in ecstatic love. Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was observing the dancing of Lord Nityananda Prabhu. Nityananda Prabhu could see this, but the others could not. Next, the dancing of Lord Nityananda Prabhu, like a dancing of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, cannot be compared to anything within these 3 worlds. No one can properly describe the sweetness of Lord Nityananda's dancing. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu personally comes to see it. Next, after the dancing and after Lord Nityananda had rested, Raghav Pandit submitted his request that the Lord take supper. Next, Lord Nityananda Prabhu sat down for supper with his personal associates and made a sitting place on his right side for Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came there and sat down at his place. Seeing this, Raghav Pandit felt increasing happiness. Raghav Pandit brought the prasadam before the 2 brothers and thereafter distributed prasadam to all the other Vaishnavas. There were varieties of cakes, sweet rice, and fine cooked rice that surpassed the taste of nectar. There were also varieties of vegetables. The food prepared and offered to the deity of Raghava Pandita was like the essence of nectar. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came there again and again to eat such prasadam. When Raghav Pandit offered the food to the deity after cooking, he would make a separate offering for Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Next, every day, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would eat at the house of Raghava Pandit. Sometimes he would give Raghav Pandit the opportunity to see him. Next, Raghav Pandit would bring and distribute prasadam to the 2 brothers, feeding them with great attention. They ate everything, and therefore there were no remnant left. Next, he brought so many presentations that no one could know them perfectly. Indeed, it was a fact that this supreme mother Radharani personally cooked in the house of Raghava Pandita. Next, Srimati Radharani received from Durvasa Muni the benediction that whatever she cooked would be sweeter than nectar. That is the special feature of her cooking. Aromatic and pleasing to see, the food was the essence of all sweetness. Thus the two brothers, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Lord Nityananda Prabhu, ate it with great satisfaction. Next, all the devotees present requested Raghunath Das to sit down and take prasadam. But Raghav Pandit told him he will take prasadam later. All the devotees present requested Raghunath Das to sit down and take prasadam, but Raghu Pandit told them he will take prasadam later. Next, all the devotees took prasadam, filling themselves to the brim. Thereafter, chanting the holy name of Hari, they stood up and washed their hands and mouth. After eating, the two brothers washed their hands and mouth. Then Raghav Pandit brought flower garlands and sandalwood pulp and decorated them. Raghav Pandit offered them betel nut and worshipped their lotus feet. He also distributed betel nut, flower garlands and sandalwood pulp to the devotees. Raghav Pandit, being very merciful toward Raghunath Das, offered him the dishes with the remnant of food left by the two brothers. He said, Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has eaten this food. If you take his remnant, you will be released from the bondage of your family. Next, the Supreme Personality of Godhead always resides either in the heart or in the home of a devotee. This fact is sometimes hidden and sometimes manifest, for the personality of Godhead is fully independent. Next, the Supreme Personality of Godhead is all-pervasive and therefore he resides everywhere. Anyone who doubts this will be annihilated. Next, in the morning, after taking his bath in the Ganga, Nityananda Prabhu sat down with his associate beneath the same tree under which he had previously sat. Raghunath Das went there and worshipped Lord Nityananda's lotus feet. Through Raghav Pandit, he submitted his desire. Text 128. I am the lowest of men, the most sinful, fallen and condemned. Nevertheless, I desire to attain shelter at the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Text 129. Like a giraffe who wants to catch the moon, I have tried my best many times, but I have never been successful. Every time I tried to go away and give up my home relationship, my father and mother unfortunately kept me bound. No one can attain the shelter of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu without your mercy. But if you are merciful, even the lowest of the men can attain shelter of his lotus feet. Although I am unfit and greatly afraid to submit this plea, I nonetheless request you, sir, to be specially merciful toward me by granting me shelter at the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Placing your feet on my head, give me the benediction that I may achieve the shelter of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu without difficulty. I pray for this benediction. Text 134. After hearing this appeal by Raghunath Das, Lord Nityananda Prabhu smiled and told all the devotees, Raghunath Das' standard of material happiness is equal to that of Indra, the king of heaven. Because of mercy bestowed upon him by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Raghunath Das, although situated in such material happiness, does not like it at all. Therefore, let every one of you be merciful toward him and give him the benediction that he may very soon attain the shelter at the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. One who experiences the fragrance of the lotus feet of Lord Krishna does not value even the standard of happiness available in the Brahmaloka, the topmost planet, then what to speak of heavenly happiness? Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is offered sublime, poetic prayers by those trying to attain his favor. Thus, he is known as Uttama Shloka. Being very eager to gain the association of Lord Krishna, King Bharat, although in the prime of youth, gave up his very attractive wife, affectionate children, most beloved friends, opulent kingdom, exactly as one gives up stool after excreting it. Next. Lord Nityananda Prabhu called Raghunath Das near him, placed his lotus feet upon Raghunath Das' head and began to speak. Text 139. My dear Raghunath Das, he said, since you arranged the feast on the bank of Ganga, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came here just to show you his mercy. By his causeless mercy, he ate the chipped rice and milk. Then, after seeing the dancing of the devotees at night, he took his supper. Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Gaura Hari, came here personally to deliver you. Now rest assured that all the impediments meant for your bondage are gone. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu will accept you and place you under the charge of his secretary Sarup Damodar. You will thus become one of the most confidential internal servants and will attain shelter at the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Being assured of all this, return to your own home. Very soon, without impediments, you will attain shelter at the lotus feet of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Next, Lord Nityananda had Raghunath Das blessed by all the devotees, and Raghunath Das offered his respect to their lotus feet. After taking leave of Lord Nityananda Prabhu and then all the other Vaishnava, Sri Raghunath Das consulted secretly with Raghav Pandita. Text 146. After consulting with Raghav Pandit, he secretly delivered 100 gold coin and about 7 tola of gold into the hand of Nityananda's Prabhu's treasurer. Raghunath Das admonished the treasurer, do not speak about this to Lord Nityananda Prabhu now, but when he returns home, kindly inform him about this presentation. Next, thereupon Raghava Pandit took Raghunath Das to his home. After inducing him to see the deity, he gave Raghunath Das a garland and a sandalwood pulp. He gave Raghunath Das a large quantity of prasadam to eat on his way home. Then Raghunath Das again spoke to Raghav Pandit. He said, I want to give money just to worship the lotus feet of all the great devotees, servants and subservants of Lord Nityananda Prabhu. As you think fit, give 20, 15, 12, 10 or 5 coins to each of them. Next, Raghunath Das drew up an account of the amount to be given and submitted it to Raghava Pandita, who then made up a list showing how much money was to be paid to each and every devotee. With great humility, Raghunath Das placed 100 gold coin and about 2 tola of gold before Raghava Pandit for all the other devotees. After taking dust from the feet of Raghava Pandit, Raghunath Das returned to his home feeling greatly obliged to Lord Nityananda Prabhu because of having relieved his merciful benediction. Next. From that day on, he did not go into the interior section of the house. From that day on, he did not go into the interior section of his house. Instead, he would sleep on the Durga Mandap, the place where Mother Durga was worshipped. There, however, the watchman alertly kept guard. Raghunath Das was thinking of various means by which to escape their vigilance. Next, at that time, all the devotees of Bengal were going to Jagannath Puri to see Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Raghunath Das could not accompany them, for they were so famous that he would have been caught immediately. Text 159 and 160. Then Raghunath Das thought deeply about how to escape, and one night, while he was sleeping on the Durga Mandap, the priest Yadunandan Acharya entered the house when only 4 dandas remained until the end of the night. Yadunandan Acharya was the priest and spiritual master of Raghunath Das. Although born in a Brahmana family, he had accepted the mercy of Vasudeva Bhatta. Yadunandan Acharya had been officially initiated by Advaita Acharya, thus he considered Lord Chaitanya his life and soul. Purport. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur comments that although the atheists who have deviated from the order of Sri Advaita Acharya introduced themselves as the follower of Advaita Acharya, they do not accept Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna. Yadunandan Acharya, one of the most confidential follower of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, was the initiated disciple of Advaita Acharya. He was not polluted by sentimental distinctions classifying Vaishnava according to birth. Therefore, although Vasudeva Datta had not been born in a Brahmana family, Yadunandan Acharya also accepted him as his spiritual master. Next, when Yadunandan Acharya entered the house of Raghunath Das and stood in the courtyard, Raghunath Das went there and fell down to offer his obeisances. One of Yadunandan Acharya's disciples had been worshipping the deity but had left that service. Yadunandan Acharya wanted Raghunath Das to induce the disciple to take up that service again. Yadunandan Acharya requested Raghunath Das, please induce the Brahmana to resume the service, for there is no other Brahmana to do it. After saying this, Raghunandan Acharya took Raghunath Das with him and went out. By that time, all the watchmen were deeply asleep because it was the end of the night. East of the house of Raghunath Das was a house of Yadunandan Acharya. Yadunandan Acharya and Raghunath Das talked together as they went toward that house. Halfway along the path, Raghunath Das submitted at the lotus feet of his spiritual master. I shall go to home of that Brahmana. I shall go to the home of that Brahmana, induce him to return and send him to your home. You may go home without anxiety. Following your order, I shall pursue the Brahmana. On this plea, after asking permission, Raghunath Das decided to go away. Raghunath Das thought, this is the greatest opportunity to go away because this time there was no servant or watchman with me. Next, thinking in this way, he quickly proceeded toward the east. Sometime he turned around and looked back, but no one was following him. Next, thinking of the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Lord Nityananda Prabhu, he felt the general path and proceeded with great haste on the one not generally used. Thinking of the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Lord Nityananda Prabhu, he left the general path and proceeded with great haste on the one not generally used. Giving up the general path from village to village, he passed through jungles, thinking with heart and soul about the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He walked about 30 miles in one day, and in the evening he took rest in the cowshed of a milkman. When the milkman saw that Raghunath Das was fasting, he gave him some milk. Raghunath Das drank the milk and lay down to rest there for the night. At the house of Raghunath Das, the servant and watchman, not seeing him there, immediately went to inquire about him from his spiritual master Yadunandan Acharya. Yadunandan Acharya said, He has already asked my permission and returned home. Thus there arose a tumultuous sound as everyone cried, now Raghunath Das has gone away. Next, Raghunath Das' father said, now all the devotees from Bengal have gone to Jagannath Puri to see Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Raghunath Das has fled with them. 10 men should immediately go, catch him, bring him back. Raghunath Das' father wrote a letter to Shivananda Sen asking him with great humility, please return my son. In Jhankara, 10 men caught up with a group of Vaishnava going to Nirjala. After delivering the letter, the men inquired from Shivananda Sen about Raghunath Das, but Shivananda Sen replied, he did not come here. The 10 men returned home and Raghunath Das' father and mother were filled with anxiety. Raghunath Das, who had been resting at the milkman's house, got up early in the morning. Instead of going to the east, he turned his face south and proceeded. Next, he crossed Chhatrabhoga, but instead of going to the general path, he proceeded on the path that went from village to village. Purport. Chhatrabhoga, known as Chhada Khadi, is in the district of 24 Parganas in West Bengal. It is situated near the celebrated village Jayanagara Majilapura. Formerly, the Ganga or some of its branches flowed through this region. Sometimes Chhatrabhoga is misunderstood to have been a village on the river Kanshi Nadi in Venapola. Next, not caring about eating, he travelled all day. Hunger was not an impediment, for his mind was concentrated upon obtaining the shelter at the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Sometimes he chewed fried grain, sometimes he cooked, and sometimes he drank milk. In this way, he kept his life and soul together with whatever was available wherever he went. He reached Jagannath Puri in 12 days. He reached Jagannath Puri in 12 days but could eat only for 3 days on the way. Next, when Raghunath Das met Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the Lord was sitting with his companion headed by Swarupa Damodara. Next, staying at a distant place in the courtyard, he fell down to offer obeisances. Then Mukunda Datta said, here is Raghunath. Next, as soon as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu heard these words, he immediately welcomed Raghunath Das. Come here, he said. Raghunath Das then clasped the lotus feet of the Lord, but the Lord stood up and embraced him out of his causeless mercy. Raghunath Das offered prayers at the lotus feet of all the devotees headed by Swarupa Damodar Goswami. Seeing the special mercy Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had bestowed upon Raghunath Das, they embraced him also. Next, Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, the mercy of Lord Krishna is stronger than anything else. Therefore, the Lord has delivered you from the ditch of materialistic life, which is like a hole into which people pass stool. Purport. According to the law of karma, everyone is destined to suffer or enjoy according to the certain material standard. But the mercy of Lord Krishna is so powerful that the Lord can change all the reactions of one's past karma or the fruitive activities. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu specifically drew attention to the mercy of Lord Krishna. That mercy is more powerful than anything else, for it had saved Raghunath Das from the strong bondage of materialistic life, which the Lord compared to a hole where the people pass stool. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave his verdict that those addicted to the materialistic way of life are like worms that are living in the stool but cannot give it up. A Griha Vrata, one who has dedicated to live in a comfortable home, although it is actually miserable, is in a condemned position. Only by the mercy of Krishna can save one from such misery. Without Krishna's mercy, one cannot get out of the filthy entanglement of materialistic life. The poor living entity cannot give up his materialistic position on his own. Only when granted the special mercy of Krishna can he give it up. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu knew very well that Raghunath Das was already liberated. Nevertheless, he emphasized that Raghunath Das' life of material comfort as a very rich man's son with a very beautiful wife and many servants to attend him was like a ditch of stool. The Lord thus specifically indicated that ordinary men who are very happy with material comfort and family life are in no better position than the worm in the stool. Text 194. Raghunath Das answered within his mind, I do not know who Krishna is. I simply know that your mercy, O my Lord, has saved me from my family life. Next, the Lord continued, your father and his elder brother are both related as brothers to my grandfather Nilambar Chakravarti. Therefore, I consider them my grandfather. Purport. Nilambar Chakravarti, the grandfather of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, was very intimately related to Raghunath Das' father and uncle. Nilambar Chakravarti used to call them his younger brothers because both of them were very much devoted to Brahmanas and were very respectable gentlemen. Similarly, they used to call him Dada Chakravarti, addressing him as an elder brother Brahmana. Raghunath Das, however, was almost the same age as Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Generally, a grandchild may joke about his grandfather. Therefore, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took advantage of the relationship between his grandfather and Raghunath Das' father and uncle to speak in a joking way. Next. Since your father and his elder brother are younger brothers of Nilambar Chakravarti, I may joke about them in this way. Next. My dear Raghunath Das, your father and his elder brother are just like worm in the stool in a ditch of material enjoyment for the great disease of the poison of material enjoyment is what they consider happiness. Purport. When a man is attached to material enjoyment, he is attached to many miserable conditions, but nevertheless he accepts his condemned position as one of the happiness. Sense enjoyment is so strong for such a person that he cannot give it up, exactly as a worm in the stool cannot give up the stool. From the spiritual point of view, when a person is too absorbed in material enjoyment, he is exactly like a worm in the stool. Although such a position is utterly miserable to the eyes of liberated soul, the materialistic enjoyer is greatly attached to it. Next. Although your father and uncle are charitable to Brahmana and greatly help them, they are nonetheless not pure Vaishnava. However, they are almost like Vaishnavas. Purport. As stated by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur in his Amrita Prabha Bhashya, some people, usually very rich men, dress like a Vaishnava and give charity to Brahman. They are also attached to deity worship, but because of their attachment to material enjoyment, they cannot be pure Vaishnava. Anya abhilashita shunyam jnana karmadhyana vritam. The pure Vaishnava has no desire for material enjoyment. That is the basic qualification of a pure Vaishnava. There are men, especially rich men, who regularly worship the deity, give charity to Brahmana, and are pious in every respect, but they cannot be a pure Vaishnava. Despite their outward show of Vaishnavism and charity, their inner desire is to enjoy a higher standard of material life. Raghunath Das' father, Govardhan, and uncle, Hiranya Das, were both very charitable to Brahmana. Indeed, the Brahmana from the Gaudiya district were particularly dependent upon them. Thus, they were accepted as very pious gentlemen. However, they presented themselves as Vaishnav to the eyes of the people in general, although from the purely spiritual point of view, they were ordinary human beings, not pure Vaishnav. Actual Vaishnav consider themselves almost Actual Vaishnav considered them almost Vaishnav, not pure Vaishnav. In other words, they were Kanishta Adhikaris, for they were ignorant of the high Vaishnav regulative principle. Nevertheless, they could not be called Vishayas or blind materialistic enjoyers. Next.
It's not there.
इधर आओ उधर वाली दो है
और कुछ
हाँ जनाब ऐसे है
जैसे
हाँ?
महाराज जी ने
छोड़ दी अंदर एक तिलक एक्स्ट्रा हो गया, कर देता हूँ अंदर।
डब्बा ही ले आता हूँ, उसमें डाल।
इसमें रख दे, सूख जाएगा। चल चल
हाँ जी, चलो।
चलो इसको ऊपर जय श्री जय श्री जय श्री।
Vanhati is the name of a village located in the state of West Bengal on the banks of the river Ganges, 10 miles north of Kolkata. It was one of the leading trade centers in the earlier days when the river route was the main means of communication. Special rice variety of Veneti was imported.
छिट्टा पर बस इसको खाली खाली तिलक चंदन चंदन पानी इसमें दोनों पानी इसमें इसको नीचे पैर में डाल किसी भी पैर में push it on the back. Namo Namo Ekadasi Krishna Prayasi Radha Krishna Shiva दर्शन कीजिए पास से। भगवान शालिग्राम कृष्ण का चरण है, चरण है ये भगवान का डायरेक्ट। दोनों चरण है कृष्णा।
क्या बात है, माता जी आई नहीं?
कौन?
हाँ, आनंद ज्योति माता जी
नहीं आएगा?
नहीं,
फोन लगाओ ना।
नहीं क्यों फोन लगा? माता जी वो तो आएंगे, तो आपको फिर पूरा घर बना के देंगे ना। अब क्या इस समय बहुत तेजी से बोल रहे थे।